has always been accorded a place of high quality and honor in India or Bharat. Kashiraj Devodas, considered to be the fourth descendant of Dhanvantri, ran a school of medicine in which Sushruta, Aubra, Vaitarna, Karavirya, Gopurakshita, Aushneva, Nimi, Gargya, Galava, and Paushkalavat were all students. Ancient Tamil civilization was already deep-rooted by this time in the system of healing and preventive practice, which later came to be called the Siddha system. Tirumular talks about Udambirkul Uruporul and also about Udambai Valarkum Ubayam. On the other hand, one of the earliest allopathic medical institutions of modern times of history was started in the then city of Madras, and the history of medical education in Madras is almost a recap of the history of medical education in Asia. It is in such a place of honor and glory that this university attempts to keep itself committed to quality medical and paramedical education and research. I have a joy in informing this august assembly of all the academic activities that this university is committed to. But before that, I have a very privileged duty and responsibility. I have the privilege in welcoming the Honorable Governor Chancellor, the Governor of Tamil Nadu and the Chancellor of this Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University to this 35th convocation. The Honorable Governor Chancellor has been a source of immense support in all academic and research activities, and your guidance, sir, has stood us in solid stead for growth and development. Thank you very much and hearty welcome, sir. It is a moment of pride and privilege for me to welcome the Honorable Finance Minister of India this afternoon. The people of India, and especially the people of Tamil Nadu, madam, are enchanted and amazed by your scholasticity and simplicity. We at this university are vividly delighted by your gracious presence this afternoon. Thank you, madam, and welcome. I am extremely happy to welcome the Honorable Minister for Health, Medical Education and Family Welfare of the Government of Tamil Nadu and the Pro-Chancellor of this university. The Honorable Minister has rescheduled several of his appointments and commitments yesterday and today to participate in this convocation and has just flown in from Kanyakumari and Thoothukudi to be here now. Thank you very much for your support and welcome, sir. I have great joy in welcoming every one of you, each one of you, to this 35th convocation. For the first time in the history of this university, and for that matter in the history of any other health university of the country, a university chair professorship on the lines of visiting training system has been established. The Dr. A. Shanmugasundaram Chair in Artificial Intelligence and Robotics and Medicine was inaugurated by the Honorable Governor Chancellor on the 10th of October 2022. Dr. Arul Emmanuel, a gastrointestinal surgeon and a robotic surgeon at the Queen's Infirmary, Newcastle upon Tyne, will be the Dr. A. Shanmugasundaram Chair Professor from 2022 to 25 and had already commenced his lecture workshops in October 2022. In a bid to consolidate on the teaching learning systems, the university embarked on the in-house lecture series. The lectures of this series will be delivered by the honorary professors of the university twice a year, and each series will run for 2 or 3 weeks with about 5 lectures a week. Though named lectures, these sessions consist of practical, hands-on, and discussion components. The COVID pandemic has had both a downslope and an upsurge effect in the university and its functions. Several examinations had to be rescheduled and postponed, and the academic calendar suffered several changes. However, as was tuned to the pandemic scenario, technology came to our rescue. With the cooperation of all our officers and staff, the faculty of all the affiliated institutions, and mainly our IT and technology partners, the university resorted to the virtual desktop interface evaluation process. Not only that, we have put the system back on track, we have fine-tuned the entire application further to make the examination and the evaluation process completely automated and hands-free. The Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University is one of the largest medical and health sector universities of the country. As on date, with 57 medical colleges and a total of over 700 institutions under its ambit, we find ourselves in an advantageous position with regard to the research potential. We are one of the 6 medical institutions in the country to be part of the One Health Consortium and screening over 20 zoonotic diseases. We are also working in tandem with the Tamil Nadu Animal Sciences and Veterinary University on areas of brucellosis and viral diseases. This university has partnered with the Anna University for studies on medical instrumentation. We have the ICMR approved COVID testing laboratory, which until last week had done 317,000 COVID sample testing. We are an NIV surveillance center for Zika, dengue and chikungunya. With the sanctions from the Ministry of Ayush, we also have 2 projects in Siddha, one on a drug for COVID-19, the study of which is already completed and the report submitted, and another one for a drug for carcinoma breast. In this convocation today, 29,579 candidates are getting their degrees and diplomas in absentia, apart from the 41 candidates, 1 DSc and 40 PhD candidates who would be receiving it in person. With over 40,000 candidates to receive degrees and diplomas every year, we have now resorted to conferring degrees in absentia to all candidates excepting the DSc and the PhD candidates. This 35th convocation has happened in a record time of 4 days with a kind gesture of the Honorable Finance Minister and the Honorable Governor Chancellor. The exams were completed in the month of October 2022, and we wanted the candidates to receive their degrees at the earliest, since there had been delays because of the pandemic. The Honorable Finance Minister had been gracious to make a trip just in about 4 days' notice, to make a trip all the way to Chennai from Delhi for this purpose, and we are extremely grateful to you, Madam, for this affectionate and compassionate gesture. The Honorable Governor, who had personally initiated the convocation, was more than willing to accommodate certain rescheduling that became necessary during the conduct of this convocation. Both the Honorable Governor Chancellor and the Honorable Pro-Chancellor have graciously given away their time of their respective speeches so that we can get the convocation completed in a record time, and we are thankful for this kind gestures of both of you, sirs. Thank you very much. Noi nadi, noi mudal nadi, adu thanikum, vai nadi vaipach cheyal was Thiruvalluvar. And this Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University is committed towards the same cause and rededicates itself on this day of the 35th convocation. I once again take this opportunity to welcome each one of you to this convocation. Anaivarukkum varaverpu, vanakangal, nandri, Jai Hind, Jai Tamil Nadu.
This 35th convocation of the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University has been called to confer the degrees of medicine, dentistry, Ayush, pharmacy, nursing, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and allied health sciences upon the candidates who have passed in the examinations recently held for the purpose and have been certified to be worthy of the same. I invite the Chief Guest, Tirumati Nirmala Sitharamanji, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Government of India, to deliver the convocation address.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். Good afternoon. Very respected Governor, the Chancellor of Dr. MGR Medical University, Honorable Minister of Health, the Pro-Chancellor of the University, Sri Subramaniamji, Vice Chancellor of Dr. MGR Medical University, Dr. Sudha Seshian, and all the dignitaries on the dais, the certification and doctorate and degree receiving students of today, felicitations to all of you all, parents, invited guests, and also the former chancellors or former vice chancellors who have all come here, the faculty member of various colleges which are affiliated to Dr. MGR Medical College, Medical University. I'm indeed grateful to all of you all for having given me this opportunity to be here at a time when, after strenuous teaching, learning experience, medical and related course degrees are being offered today. I'm extremely happy to join here. I know this is one profession which has many challenges and also difficulties. It is a strenuous 5-year-long course. It's not easy. So for a university, which at a time seems to be giving not hundreds, but just not thousands, tens of thousands of degrees, I'm indeed very proud to see that happening here, and to be participating in it gives me immense pleasure. So all the congratulations to the Governor, to the Health Minister, and also to the Vice Chancellor for achieving this kind of a feat. Convocation addresses can sometimes be very time-consuming, and also at a time when students are expecting to get their degrees, it would be get away with it, finish it. We want our degrees, we want to go away. And for teachers, it would also mean, yes, we know all this, but can we give the degrees and go away? It is not a disrespect to anyone, but the general feeling would be they can get boring. Sometimes many known facts are repeated, and things which are almost in the public domain is what is being said, and therefore, in general, convocation address is a burden on the person who speaks it, because you have to make it interesting in spite of all these difficulties. So with that little thing on my head that I have to make it interesting, but yet there are some things which I'd like to share with you, and therefore I would like to seek your indulgence. And please wait for a few more minutes to get your degrees. You will get it, you've earned it, you are very deserving of it. But I start with this observation. Also because we've all gone through very trying pandemic times, which has, I'm sure, much more than the citizen, the medical practitioners, students, and also the related services, the paramedics and everybody, went through a very challenging phase. In fact, those who are getting degrees today are probably coming out with an advantage and also a brownie point. The advantage is that you've seen through the worst of the pandemic and you've been active participants in it, although you were students. Not just the doctors, not just paramedics, not just others who were related to the service, but I remember the Honorable Prime Minister saying even students of medical education should be part of this recovery and also relief providing for patients who are affected by COVID. And many of you who are receiving your degrees today, receiving your doctorates today, were part of that exercise which this country went through and went through successfully. I would certainly like to cover at a later part of my speech about how a democratically parliamentary based with an elected government country with people's participation could face the multi-pronged challenge of addressing COVID. To find a vaccine, to find the PPE kits, to supply the oxygen generating equipments, find the right kind of medicines, also give the psychological and psychiatric help which was so required. All that happened in India. And even during the phase of lockdown, scientists were working on getting a vaccine ready, and which actually just gave us our own vaccine without having to pay royalty to somebody else. Of course, there was also royalty obtained, the vaccine which was brought into this country, with which we were able to have not one, not two, about 4 vaccines within that period. And as a result, as different from what is happening today in China, I'm saying it not as if I'm boasting about us, and I'm not saying it as though, oh, look at them, they're suffering. Not at all. Medical education, medical services, people and their health and preventive care, all of which benefit from learning from one another. And therefore, I'm taking at this instance what is developing in various different parts of the world where, in spite of the vaccines that they had, and at one point in time they were given even approvals by the WHO much earlier than we could get our approvals. If I'm right with the date, even by May, June, the Chinese vaccines had obtained their approvals from the WHO, whereas ours, which went through repeated trials and tests and also so many different scrutiny of compliance, obtained the WHO approval only in November. But by which time, because in India, our own regulatory authorities had given the permission, Government of India, together with the state governments, executed the vaccination in a rapid pace that by the time Omicron attacked us, that version of COVID, we were almost prepared to face it, and there were very few mortalities at the end. That was in November, December 2021. So that is the kind of preparedness a democratically elected India, state and center put together, and the scientifically readied institutions in India, in spite of a very strong, robust democracy, people's voice, concerns, could stand up to face the challenge because of the center state working together. And that is something which has to be studied further, particularly those in the medical field, that which has to be documented further to say what has been the contribution of doctors and medical students, nurses, paramedics, everyone. The institutions which are in state levels, institutions which are national level, all of them have worked together. And that is why today, when we see a surge yet again in China or somewhat in Japan and Korea as well, India is in a better position. And now, even yesterday we heard that there is a nasal vaccine also which is now being authorized, which doesn't really need a syringe, and therefore you don't need to search for more paramedics or nurses to help in serving the vaccine With the proper guidance, it can be self-given. So India and its progress in terms of the vaccination itself is a story which I think is worthy of repeating in every medical university convocation, because it's an achievement of all doctors and students and nurses and paramedics. It is the achievement of this medical fraternity. It is the achievement of all those who are already into the scheme of things. And that is why I say that the oaths that you take, whether it is the Hippocratical oath or the Charaka Samhita oath, ultimately all of them say the same thing. So if there are reservations for some people saying, how could you come and tell us in an allopathic medical center about oaths which are taken under different streams, I want to highlight that the oath that is taken by any medical fraternity under any stream of medicine eventually draws on the spirit of what today we speak about as scientific social responsibility. You are aware that Government of India in 2022, I think on 13th May, if I'm right with the date, the National Technology Day, issued the guidelines for what is called a scientific social responsibility. So in all these aspects, whether it is a scientific social responsibility, it is your Hippocratic oath, or it is the Sushruta Samhita, all of them give the same philosophy, even as you take it. And I just want to draw both these quotes so that we are well informed of what is India today. The Charaka Samhita gives a detailed oath of initiation for every doctor in those days. Honorable Vice Chancellor also referred to Charaka, who was a surgeon. And he also knew on what is today, if I'm expressing it right, rhinotherapy, using of certain techniques to do some surgery on your nose. So these are things which Charaka was famous for. So that Samhita, that compilation that he wrote, had given an oath of initiation. It is something similar to what we say sankalpa, or a dedication or an oath that you take while entering one's profession. So the passage of this oath of initiation says, and I quote, day and night, however you may be engaged, you shall endeavor for the relief of patients with all your heart and soul. You shall not desert or injure your patient for the sake of your life or your living, unquote. So that is Charaka. Now, I'll just very quickly go over to talking about the Hippocratical oath that you would take. Actually, the Hippocratical oath is a commitment to uphold the highest of ethical standards in the practice of medicine, including the principles of non-malfeasance and actually the principle of beneficence. So non-malfeasance is to do no harm. Compare it with what I read about Charaka. So the principle of non-malfeasance is to do no harm. Beneficence, which is to do good. And the respect that you have to give for patient autonomy. Patient's autonomy is a critical point of the Hippocratical oath. So it also includes a commitment to the respect of patient information confidentiality, and also to continue learning and improving one's skills. So one of the Hippocratical oaths, which is always important to remember, is, and I quote, I will remember that I remain a member of the society I will remember to remain, I will remember that I remain a member of the society with special obligations to all my fellow human beings, those sound of mind and body, and as well as those who are infirm. So just see and compare for yourself. Charaka, who lived several millennia ago, and Hippocratic Oath, which has come in, at least in this medical premises, I would think, from 1836, just when medical education was brought into Chennai, then Madras. So eventually, whichever stream of medicine that you're talking about, today we are talking about wellness, preventive healthcare, all of which are coming through Ayush. And Ayush, as it is an acronym. You're talking of Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, Tibetan medicine. Everywhere, ultimately, you're aiming at serving the people. Serving the people without hesitation, with benevolence, making sure that you are available at all time and not to hurt the patient. So there's no difference between any stream of medicine that you're talking about, which is not what is taught here. You're taught allopathy, but today, with the government's support, all kinds of medicines are, every stream is given its own special place. And that is why, because I'm standing in Tamil Nadu, the role of Siddha during COVID cannot be forgotten. And I do remember very clearly that what was known as Kaba Jora Kudinir, Kapha, Jwara, Kudinir is a drinking water. That became a magic potion, not just for people affected in COVID in Tamil Nadu, but Government of India also brought sachets of Kavajura Kudinir and distributed it all over the country. And to a large extent, it had a very impactful outcome on patients who were on the verge of COVID or who felt that they may get exposed. And therefore, Siddha together with allopathy, in a way, because we are not talking of integration of the two. Even as you're doing it separately, both had their own impact. So, for students of those medical education who are getting their degrees today, I would humbly appeal. The time is now for us to realize that your degrees give you a certain advantage. But the traditional medicine of today, which we have over the centuries, millennia, have a very big role to play, and that is why today the wellness centers which are established at the taluk level have all gained a lot of acceptance from the people. And even in Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Siddha is recognized in those universities for preventive healthcare and for wellness. So it is not something which just the Government of India or some governments are interested in. These are areas in which the traditional advantage that India had in healthcare can be blended with the allopathic expertise that you're obtaining, for which you're being given the degrees today. Government of India has been spending a lot of time building these wellness centers, which have every Ayush according to the state's requirements. So Tamil Nadu would largely have Siddha, Kerala would have Ayurveda, whereas Ladakh and Leh would have Tibetan medicine. Some parts of India would have Unani, and so on. At this time, it's also important for us to realize India is recognized as the pharmacy of the world. We produce medicines which are so sought after by most countries of the world for two reasons. Because of the expertise with which it is made, the global standards with which they are manufactured, and above all, the economy of the medicine itself. India is known for frugal innovations, and in pharmacy sector we have shown that generic medicines which are produced in India are cost effective and therefore are affordable by all countries which are even categorized as low income country. I just want to share it with you that today India exports drugs and pharmaceutical products worth 24.6 billion US dollars. And Indian pharma industry witnessed an exponential growth of 103% during 2014 and 2022. We have grown from 11.6 billion US dollars to 24.6 billion US dollars. And India supplies 50%, approximately 50% of all Africa's requirement for generic medicine. Similarly, approximately 40% of all America's, United States of America's generic medicine. And approximately 25% of medicines, of all medicines, not just generic, 25% of all medicines in the UK. So you can see what is happening from India in terms of being the pharmacy for the world, and there is greater potential. India supplies a significant portion of the world's generic drugs, which I said a minute ago. Approximately 60% of all global vaccine demand is met by India. 60%. Any vaccine anywhere, you just take it, you'll find there is a presence of India, and particularly we are the leading suppliers of DPT, BCG and measles vaccines. We are the leading suppliers. And 70% of all the World Health Organization vaccine requirements, which they procure for their essential immunization scheme from all over the world, is procured from India. 70% of World Health Organization's vaccine requirement is from India. And similarly, I would want to highlight how India has become a hub of medical tourism. So all of you all are entering a field which, whether it is pharmaceutical requirement, whether it is vaccine, or whether it is people coming for treatment, allopathic treatment, India is the hub, and therefore you are trained, qualified and certified in India by teachers who are doing an excellent job, and you are getting into that market which has the biggest potential for medical tourism as well. Very quickly I'll share this. Honorable Prime Minister had said this, and I'd like to quote this so that you can mull over it. And I quote, "In the coming years, I envision India as the go-to destination for quality and affordable care, medical care, health care. India has everything needed to be a hub for medical tourism," unquote. Again, some statistics which will show you're going to be most sought after with the qualifications that you have, and the world is looking at you to serve them. So what is the size of the medical tourism that we have in India? It is estimated to be around 9 billion US dollars, which makes India stand the 10th biggest global medical tourism hub. Can you imagine this? In the world, we are the 10th largest medical hub. How was that possible? It is because of good institutions which train good doctors, and you're there, out there for looking at that market which you can serve, which means you see approximately 2 million patients visit India each year from how many countries? 78 countries. For medical, for wellness, and for IVF treatments. generating $6 billion for the industry, which is expected to reach $13 billion by the year 2026. In another 3 years, it is going to be reaching $13 billion, which is, I would think, a very big asset for India, but I would want you to be a lot more enthusiastic about it. I don't seem to get that from you. It is about you. It is about your contribution. It is about this institution. It is about these teachers who are making you all the best in the world, that the entire world is looking at India for telemedicine, wanting to come here to get your services done. I wouldn't go into the bigger numbers of how India is becoming a research hub as well. But one thing is worth saying. The Global Center for Traditional Medicine, which is a WHO center, the first and the only center of its kind, is being established in India. And it is being established in Jamnagar, Gujarat. And it will strategically focus on evidence and learning, data and analytics, sustainability and equity, and innovation and technology, in order that you can optimize the contribution of traditional medicine and to, in a way, to global health and sustainable development. So the first global Ayush investment and innovation summit, so that we get more money towards people investing to build Siddha capabilities in India, Ayurveda capabilities in India, Tibetan medicine capabilities, Unani capabilities, was also held this year in 2022. So without all this, what I want to underline here is you're entering a sphere which is robust. You're entering a sphere where people are waiting for you to come on board to serve. You're also entering a field where today in tier 3 cities, tier 2 cities, not just metropolitan towns, all these medical tourists who are coming to Bengaluru, Chennai, Ahmedabad, or Mumbai or Hyderabad. We should have that kind of access even in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So it is very important that we build on our capabilities. Of course, there are many more things which I would like to highlight, but I wouldn't take more of your time. Vice Chancellor quoted Thiruvalluvar. I'm equally tempted to quote one more from Thiruvalluvar. It may not apply purely to medicine, but a doctor would certainly, a nurse certainly, and somebody else who helps in the hospital when the patient is admitted would certainly be rewarded because of this virtue about which Thiruvalluvar speaks. Kalathinal செய்த நன்றி சிறிதெனினும் ஞாலத்துன் மானப் பெரிது. So that little help a doctor does, a nurse does, or a patient's assistant does, a healthcare worker does, is a timely assistant. And that assistance is bigger than the entire earth, is what I would see that Kural telling us. And therefore, with that kind of a overall picture, I would want to highlight that you are coming into a domain which in India is the best place to be. It's the best place to be in because world is looking at India to serve it. I would only want you to do 2 or 3 things, and I'm saying this in front of the Honorable Minister for Health Education in India, in Tamil Nadu. 2 or 3 things which I would like to draw your attention. There is definitely a need for strengthening medical education. We need medical education to be well-grounded, and I would think that can be greatly achieved if medical education can be taught in Tamil. தமிழ்ல மருத்துவத்துறையில இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒவ்வொரு கல்வியும் தமிழை ஆதாரமா வைத்து கல்வி வழங்கப்பட்டதென்றால் இங்கிருந்து தேர்ச்சி பெற்று வரக்கூடிய மாணவர்கள் அனைவரும் இன்னும் பலமாக அவங்களுடைய கல்வியின் திறமையை எடுத்து வெளிக்காட்டுறதுக்கான வாய்ப்பு இருக்கும். தமிழை நேசிக்கும் தமிழ் மக்கள் இருக்கக்கூடிய தமிழ்நாட்டில் மருத்துவ கல்வி தமிழில் இருக்க வேண்டும். மருத்துவ கல்வினா ஒரு டாக்டர் மாத்திரம் இல்லை, நர்ஸா இருந்தாலும் டென்டிஸ்டா இருந்தாலும் மருத்துவ கல்வியுடன் தொடர்புள்ள எல்லா கல்விகளும் தமிழில் இருந்தால் நமக்கும் நல்லது, நம்மளுக்கு இன்னும் அதில் ரிசர்ச் பண்ணுறதுக்கான வாய்ப்பும் கிடைக்கும். அதனால இங்கிலீஷ் ஒதுக்கி வைங்கன்னு நான் சொல்லலை. தாய்மொழியில் பலம் இருந்தால் ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்காக இன்னும் எத்தனை மொழி வேணாலும் நம்ம கற்றுக்கலாம். நான் இங்கே படித்தவ தான், இங்கேயே படித்து வளர்ந்தவ தான். நான் தைரியமாக சொல்கிறேன், தமிழில் இருக்கக்கூடிய பற்று இந்த விதமாக மாறினா நம்ம எல்லாருக்கும் நல்லது. அதனால ரிசர்ச்சுக்கும் உயர்கல்விக்கும் கூட நம்மளுடைய அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங், புரிதல் இன்னும் நல்ல ஆழமாக இருந்துச்சுன்னா நம்ம இன்னும் முன்னேறதுக்கான வாய்ப்பும் இருக்கும். அதனால நான் ரொம்பவே தாழ்மையுடன் தமிழ்நாட்டில் நின்று, இதுக்கு எதிர்ப்பு இருக்கும் நான் எதிர்பார்க்கல, தமிழ்நாட்டில் நின்று இதை சொல்கிறேன். அதுவும் தமிழ்நாட்டில் மருத்துவத்துறைக்கு அமைச்சராக இருக்கக்கூடிய அமைச்சர் முன்னாடி நான் சொல்கிறேன், தமிழ்நாட்டில் மெடிக்கல் எஜுகேஷனை தமிழில் நடத்தினா டெஃபினட்டாக அதுலேருந்து நம்மளுக்கு எல்லாருக்கும் நல்லது நடக்கும். ஒன்று. ரெண்டாவது, மெடிக்கல் எஜுகேஷன் ப்ளஸ் உயர்கல்வியில் கூட பல விதத்தில் இந்த நாட்டுக்கு நம் நாட்டுக்கு நம் மக்களுக்கு நம்ம சேவை பண்ணணுன்றது எப்பொழுதும் அடிப்படையாக இருக்கணும். அதனால தான் சயின்டிஃபிக் சோஷியல் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டியை பற்றி எடுத்து சொன்னேன் உங்களுக்கு. அதை பற்றி கவர்மெண்ட் ஆஃப் இந்தியா ஒரு பாலிசியை எடுத்துகிட்டு வந்திருக்கோம். அது வாலண்டரியாக செய்ய வேண்டியதான், யாரும் மேலேயும் கம்பல்ஷன் இல்லை. ஆனால் அது பல விதத்தில் செய்யலாம். அதுக்குன்னு ஒரு பெரிய நான் செலவு பண்ணி ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் நடத்தணுமா அப்படின்றது இல்லை. நம்மளால முடிஞ்ச வரைக்கும் நம்ம நாட்டில் இருக்கக்கூடிய திறமையை எடுத்து சொல்கிற அளவுக்கு 4 இடத்துல போய் பேசணும். என்னெல்லாம் வசதிகள் இருக்குது, மத்திய மாநில அரசு எல்லாரும் செய்யக்கூடிய பெரிய பெரிய உதவிகள், எங்கெங்கே ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் கட்டுறாங்க, எந்தெந்த இடத்துல நம்ம இந்த மாதிரி வெல்னஸ் சென்டர்ஸ் வைக்கிறோம், எந்த இடத்துல ஹாஸ்பிட்டல்ஸில் என்ன வசதி இருக்குது, அந்த வசதியினால் எவ்வளோ தூரம் நம்ம முன்னேற முடியுன்றதையும் எடுத்து மக்களுக்கு எடுத்து உரைக்க வேண்டிய பொறுப்பு, அதுதான் உங்கள் சயின்டிஃபிக் சோஷியல் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டி. இப்போ கார்ப்பரேட் சோஷியல் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டியை பற்றி பேசி அவங்க கம்பெனிக்காரங்க நம்மளுக்கு பணம் கொடுக்கறது இல்லை, இங்கே தான் இருக்குது கம்பெனி, அவன் எங்கேயோ கொண்டு போய் செலவழிக்கிறான் அப்படின்னு நம்ம எத்தனையோ பேசுகிறோம். அதெல்லாம் சரிதான், பேச வேண்டியதுதான். ஆனால் சோஷியல் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டி ஆஃப் அ சயின்டிஃபிக் மைண்டட் பர்சன், அதில் பணம் செலவிட இல்லைங்க. உங்கள் கையிலேருந்து உங்கள் பணத்தை யாரும் கேட்கலைங்க. உங்களை கம்பல்சரியாக பண்ணுங்கன்னு சொல்லி திட்டமாக யாரும் உங்ககிட்ட பின்னாடி நிற்கலை. ஆனால் நம்மளுக்கு ஒரு பொறுப்பு இருக்குது. நம்மளுடைய சமுதாயத்தை நல்ல விதமாக நடத்தி முன்னாடி கூட்டிட்டு போகிறதுக்கு நம்மளால ஆன உதவியை நம்ம பண்ண தான் வேண்டும். இதில் ஒரு விஷயத்தை நான் சொல்ல விரும்புகிறேன். அங்கே தான் கார்ப்பரேட்டைசேஷன், கமர்ஷியலைசேஷன் ஆஃப் மெடிசன் எவ்வளவு தூரத்துக்கு உகந்ததுன்னு நம்ம யோசிக்கணும். பேண்டமிக் சமயத்தில் நாங்கள் ஒவ்வொரு மந்திரிகளும் மத்திய அரசில் ஒவ்வொரு ஸ்டேட்டோடையும் சில சமயம் மாவட்டங்களோட கூட பேசிட்டு இருந்தோம். எவ்வளவு பிபிஇ கிட் இருக்கு உங்ககிட்ட, வருதா மெடிசின்ஸ் வந்து சேருதா, மைக்ரண்ட் ஒர்க்கர்ஸ் எங்கே போயிட்டு இருக்காங்க, அவங்களுக்கு என்ன கொடுக்கணும், இப்படி டெய்லி ஃபோன் கால் மூலமாக நாங்கள் பேசிட்டு தான் இருக்கோம். அப்போ இதை நான் கொஞ்சம் மனசு விட்டு சொல்கிறேன், யாரும் வேற விதமாக தப்பாக நடத்திக்க வேண்டாம். ஒரு கவர்மெண்ட் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல், இது தமிழ்நாட்டில் மாத்திரம் இல்லை, நாடு முழுவதும் சொல்றக்கூடிய விஷயம் தான். இது ஏதோ நான் இங்கே வந்து தமிழ்நாட்டில் ஒரு உபதேசம் கொடுத்துட்டு போயிட்டேன்னு நினைக்காதீங்க. நார்மல் கவர்மெண்ட் ஹாஸ்பிட்டலில் கோவிட்க்கு வைத்தியம் கொடுத்ததுக்கு எவ்வளவு செலவாகும் அப்படின்னு நம்ம பார்த்தோம்னா, அங்கே இடம் இல்லாமல் இல்லை எப்படியா இருந்தாலும் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் அட்மிட் தான் பண்ணி ஆகணுன்ற நிலைமை வந்தவங்க பிரைவேட் ஹாஸ்பிட்டலுக்கு போனால் அங்கே இடம் இருந்து அவங்க கொடுத்தா கூட கவர்மெண்ட் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் ரேட்டுக்கும் அதுக்கும் பன்மடங்கு வித்தியாசம். இதில் என்ன, நீங்கள் ஸ்பெஷல் வார்டு கேட்கல, ஸ்பெஷல் ரூம் கேட்கல, அடிஷ்னலாக ஏசி கொடுங்கன்னு சொல்லலை, அப்படின்னு என்ன நீ காரிடார்ல வச்சு வராண்டால வச்சு எனக்கு ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் கொடுத்தா கூட போதும்பா, எனக்கு ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் தேவை அப்படின்னு போன போது தனியார் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல்ஸ்ல சிலர், நான் எல்லாரையும் சொல்லலை, எல்லா தனியார் ஹாஸ்பிட்டலையும் சொல்லிட்டேன்னு நீங்க உடனே தப்பா அபிப்பிராயம் எடுத்துக்க வேணாம். சில இடத்துல அந்த பேஷண்டாலேயோ அந்த பேஷண்ட் குடும்பத்தாலேயோ கட்ட முடியாத அளவுக்கு பணம் கொடுக்க வேண்டிய போய் அவங்க இல்லைங்க எங்களால் முடியாத, எங்களை விட்டுருங்க நாங்கள் போகிறோம் கவர்மெண்ட் ஹாஸ்பிட்டலுக்கு சொன்னா கூட விடாம நீ வெய்ய பணத்தை அதுக்கப்புறம் உன்னை விடுறேன்னு அந்த உயிருக்கு ஆபத்து இருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த நிலைமையில கூட சில, நான் திருப்பி சொல்றேன், சில மருத்துவமனைகள் நடப்படவில்ல. நிறைய பேருக்கு மனசுல ஒரே வேதனை, எங்க பொழைச்சா போதுன்னு இருக்கிற இந்த நிலைமையில் நாங்கள் இவ்வளோ பணம் எங்கேருந்து கட்டுறது? அதனால நம்ம ஹிப்போக்ராட்டிக்கல் ஓத்து பார்த்தோம், சரக்கா பார்த்தோம். அல்டிமேட்லி நம்ம என்னங்க, நம்ம ஒரு சொசைட்டி சயின்டிஃபிக் சோஷியல் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டி, நம்மளுடைய கடமைன்றது எவ்வளவு தூரத்துக்கு நம்ம எடுத்துக்கணும், எவ்வளவு சீரியஸா எடுத்துக்கணும், இது எவ்வளவு அந்த நேரத்தில் அந்த அட்வான்டேஜை வச்சு நம்மளும் நீ உயிர் இருந்தாலும் போனாலும் எனக்கு கட்ட வேண்டியதை கட்டுன்ற அந்த நிலைமைக்கு நம்ம எடுத்துட்டு வந்தோம். அதுவும் ஒரு பேண்டமிக் சமயத்தில் ரொம்ப வருத்தத்துக்கு உரிய விஷயம். அதனால நம்ம மெடிக்கல் எஜுகேஷனில் டிகிரி வாங்குறவங்க ஹாஸ்பிட்டல்ஸ் நடத்துங்க. Tier 2 Tier 3 சிட்டிஸில் கூட நீங்கள் போங்க, உங்கள் சொந்த ஊரில் கூட போய் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் வைங்க. அதுக்கு மத்திய அரசின் மூலமாக நிறைய வயபிலிட்டி கேப் ஃபண்டிங் வருது. நீங்கள் வச்சிங்கன்னா அதுக்கு உதவி கொடுக்கறதுக்கு மத்திய அரசுலேருந்து சலுகையில் எளிமையான இன்ட்ரெஸ்டோட பேங்க்கும் கொடுக்கக்கூடிய ஃபண்ட்ஸும் வருது. நீங்கள் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் நடத்துங்க, எல்லா ஊர்லேயும் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல்ஸ் வரணும். அவங்க சொந்த ஊரில் வச்சா இன்னும் சந்தோஷம். ஆனால் அல்டிமேட்லி நம்ம சயின்டிஃபிக் சோஷியல் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டியை மறந்துடக்கூடாது. இந்த நாட்டுக்கு வெளிநாட்டிலேருந்து வர பணம் வருது, அங்கே பேஷண்ட்ஸ் வந்து கொடுக்குறதெல்லாம் இருக்குது நம்மளுக்கு. இருந்தாலும் நம்ம மக்களை நம்ம காப்பாற்றிக்கணும். எனக்கு இந்த வாய்ப்பு அளித்ததுக்கு ரொம்ப நன்றி. உங்கள் எல்லாருக்கும் வாழ்த்துக்கள். நல்ல டிகிரி, நல்ல படிப்பு, நல்ல முன்னேற்றம் இருக்கணும். உங்களோட எதிர்காலம் நல்ல பரிமளமாகவும் வெளிச்சமாகவும் எல்லாருக்கும் உதவி கொடுக்கக்கூடிய விதமாகவும் அமையணும் என்று இறைவனை நான் பிரார்த்திக்கிறேன். ரொம்ப நன்றி.
Let the candidates be now presented.
Mr. Chancellor, I present unto you one in-person candidate of DSc degree and 20 in-person candidates of PhD degree who has qualified to receive the degree. DSc Dr. Sanjay M. Cherian. PhD Dr. Joy Varghese S. Dr. Arun or Dr. Sita Lakshmi K. Dr. S. Alexander. Dr. Pungudi K. Dr. Satish K. Dr. Ram Kumar K. Dr. Ilankani P. Dr. Nityamala I. Dr. Satya Rajeshwaran P. Dr. Natarajan S. Dr. Kannan M. Tirumadi Divya Prabha MS. Tirumadi Mary Rebecca Y. Tirumadi Rajasundari M. Tirumadi Dhanalakshmi M. Tirumadi Kumudaveni B. Thiru Murugan S. Tirumadi Sudha M.
Mr. Chancellor, I present unto you 20 in-person candidates of PhD degree who have qualified to receive the degree. Thiru Kamalakannan, Tirumati Gigi, Thiru Prabhu, Thiru Jambalingam, Thiru Muhammad Sheikh Arabat, Tirumati Lavanya, Tirumati Stella Mary, Tirumati Leena, Tirumati Prabha, Tirumati Shenbagavalli, Tirumati Kasturi, Tirumati Rajeshwari, Tirumati Kavita, Tirumati Bhanumati, Thiru Jarin Kumar, Tirumati Reena, Tirumati Suganti, Tirumati Gracie, Tirumati Mary Anbarasi, and Tirumati Neela. Thank you, sir.
Pardon me for breaking the protocol. I'm so pleased to introduce her. She herself tells me that her husband is a driver and he has encouraged her to do this and come out like this. Very remarkable.
Mr. Chancellor, I move that a total of 29,579 candidates who could not be presented in person and who have also been qualified to receive the various degrees in the faculties of the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University be admitted to their respective degrees in absentia.
Let all the candidates stand up and take the pledge. We shall in thought, word and deed be ever honest in the discharge of our duties and uphold the dignity and integrity of our profession and the honor and name of our university and our alma mater. We swear to serve the sick and ailing patients under our care and all those who need our services to the best of our ability without any consideration of caste, creed or status. By virtue of authority vested in me as Chancellor, I admit those presented here and those presented in absentia for the degrees of the various faculties of the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University, for which they have been declared qualified in this university, and in token thereof, I authorize the admitted candidates to wear the robes ordained as the insignia of their qualifications. Let the candidates be seated. I dissolve this convocation.
As a token of our gratitude and thanks to the Honorable Finance Minister, the Honorable Governor Chancellor and the Honorable Pro Chancellor, the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University would like to present a small memento to all three of them. The national anthem, may we all rise for the national anthem.